Today's discussion orbits around the concept of social identity, a theory introduced by psychologists Henry Tejfel and John Turner in the 1970s. This theoretical framework helps elucidate how our group affiliations shape our personal identities and influence our perception of self and others. At the heart of social identity theory are three fundamental processes: social categorization, social comparison, and group dynamics. Let's examine each in turn. Firstly, social categorization revolves around our inherent need to organize the social environment. We simplify the world by clustering people into groups, like us versus them, in-groups and out-groups. Our memberships define part of our identity and provide us a sense of belonging. Secondly, social comparison pertains to our tendency to compare our group with others. The comparisons favoring our in-group boost our self-esteem and further fortify our sense of identity. Thirdly, group dynamics underscores the interplay between individual identities and group memberships. It's in this process that we negotiate our behaviors, attitudes, and perceptions to align with our group, further integrating us within that social structure. To illustrate these concepts vividly, let's journey back to the Renaissance period and look at the interesting example of the Medici family of Florence, Italy. The Medicis, a powerful banking family in Florence, developed a robust identity through social categorization. They saw themselves distinctly as patrons of the arts, setting themselves apart from other noble families. This self-categorization was further enhanced by their contributions to the flourishing Renaissance culture, resulting in a unique Medici identity. Social comparison also played a significant role. They compared themselves with other noble families and found their distinction in promoting the arts and culture. Through these comparisons, they elevated their self-esteem and created a prestigious image that resonated within and beyond Florence. Here are two prominent examples of their patronage. First, the patronage of Sandro Botticelli. He was one of the most notable artists sponsored by the Medici family, particularly by Lorenzo de' Medici, also known as Lorenzo the Magnificent. One of Botticelli's most famous works, Primavera, is believed to have been commissioned by the Medici family. This masterpiece, depicting various mythological figures and a garden, reflects the intellectual environment of the Medici court, combining elements of classical literature and philosophy. A second item was their establishment of the Platonic Academy. Lorenzo de' Medici established the Platonic Academy in Florence, a significant intellectual center that attracted philosophers, poets, and artists. The Academy was instrumental in promoting the preservation and preserving the works of ancient philosophers like Plato, which had a profound influence on the Renaissance and its ideas and thoughts in art. The school scholars, including Marsilio Ficino and Pico della Mirandola, were often tasked with translating ancient and Greek texts, thus ensuring their survival and dissemination. The Platonic Academy's influence permeated the art of the time, with Neoplatonic ideas making their ways into many of the new works sponsored by the Medici family. Thanks for your patience with my pronunciations there. These examples underscore the extent to which the Medici family were not simply patrons, but intellectual catalysts of the Renaissance, fostering an environment in which art, philosophy, and knowledge could flourish. However, the cultural and social context in which these identities were constructed and negotiated were not uniform. The Medicis, for example, were also Italians, Christians, and part of a European nobility, each adding layers to their identity. Such examples underscore the intricate relationship between individual identity and social context. Our identities, shaped and swayed by our affiliations, give us a sense of belonging and purpose. However, they are not static. Rather, they are continually negotiated and renegotiated as we traverse different social landscapes. Now, I would like you to think about how social categorization, social comparison, and group dynamics pertain to your life. First, consider social categorization. We instinctively categorize ourselves and others into various social groups based on attributes such as nationality, religion, professions, or hobbies. These categories provide a framework for understanding ourselves and others and shape our self-concept. For instance, identifying as a student or an artist can influence one's perceptions, attitudes, and behavior. This categorization not only simplifies the complex social world, but also provides a sense of belonging and security. So, what are your categorizations? Now, let's think about social comparison. Once you identify with a particular group, the in-group, you naturally compare this group with others, the out-groups. This comparison often involves evaluating the in-group favorably to boost self-esteem. For example, a soccer player might compare their fitness level or teamwork skills favorably against those who play in individual sports, enhancing their self-image and affirming their identity as a soccer player or a football player. How do you socially compare yourself? Lastly, ponder group dynamics. The norms, values, and expectations of the in-group can shape our identity further. If you identify as a volunteer, you may adopt values such as altruism and community service, aligning your personal identity with the group's ethos. The process of aligning and sometimes renegotiating personal attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors in line with the group is a dynamic process, demonstrating the profound influence of group membership on individual identity. What group dynamics are in your life? So in conclusion, social identity theory illustrates that our sense of self is not constructed in isolation, but profoundly influenced by our social environment. It suggests that understanding one's personal identity requires understanding the social group one belongs to and interacts with.